Welcome back to the channel. Today's video. We are going deep into the world of rare American coins, and the spotlight is shining brightly on one of the most fascinating cents in United States numismatic history, the 1939 mint mark Lincoln wheat penny. This humble copper coin, small in size but massive in history, is one that collectors across the world continue to search for, study, and chase. Many people see a penny and think it's worthless, but as you're about to discover, some pennies hold secrets, stories, and hidden fortunes that only a careful eye can detect. So sit back and stay with me until the end, because the 1939 wheat penny may look ordinary at first glance, but its true value, both historical and monetary, will surprise you more than you can imagine. The year 1939 was a time of major change around the world. America was recovering from the Great Depression, industries were rebuilding, and the United States Mint was focusing on producing stable, high-quality coinage for everyday use. The Lincoln wheat penny had already been circulating for 30 years by that point. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it featured the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, paired with the symbolic wheat ears on the reverse. It was a familiar coin to every American pocket, purse, and storefront cash register. But even within these millions of everyday coins, rare and valuable varieties were being created, sometimes intentionally, sometimes by pure accident. The 1939 wheat penny comes in three mint mark types. The Philadelphia Mint, which carries no mint mark, the Denver Mint represented by the small letter D, and the San Francisco Mint marked by an S. Each mint produced its own share of pennies, and each had slight differences in strike quality, appearance, and rarity. Some collectors prefer Denver coins for their typically sharp strikes and deeper impressions, while others love the San Francisco coins for their lower mintages and more appealing color tones. But regardless of mint mark, the 1939 penny stands out as one of the most interesting coins of the pre-World War II era. Even though billions of Lincoln wheat cents were minted across the entire wheat penny series from 1909 to 1958, not all dates were treated equally. Some years saw unbelievably high production, while others were limited for a number of reasons. The year 1939 falls somewhere in between. It wasn't the lowest mintage year, but it wasn't the highest either. But what makes 1939 pennies so special is not just how many were made, but the quality of the coins produced and the survival rate of high-grade examples. Many of the 1939 pennies were circulated heavily. By the time collectors started paying closer attention to wheat pennies in the 1950s and 1960s, most 1939 coins were already worn down, scratched, discolored, and dented from years of use. This long circulation time means that today, finding a 1939 wheat penny in truly sharp, original condition is far harder than many people think. Collectors today look for three main factors when valuing a 1939 penny: mintage, condition, and errors or varieties. So let's break these down one at a time, because each one can drastically change the worth of a coin that appears ordinary to the untrained eye. First is mintage. The Philadelphia Mint struck the most 1939 pennies, but without the P mint mark, these can be harder to identify unless you know exactly what to look for. Denver struck fewer, and San Francisco struck the fewest of all three mints. When mintage numbers drop, the collector demand usually rises because scarcity always plays a role in the world of rare coins. However, mintage alone never tells the whole story. Sometimes a coin with high mintage becomes extremely valuable because only a tiny number survived in pristine condition. That's exactly what makes the 1939 penny market interesting. Next is condition. A well-circulated 1939 penny that has been through decades of pockets, purses, store counters, and bank drawers may be worth only a few cents. But take that same coin, untouched, uncirculated, preserved with original luster from the day it was minted, and the value can skyrocket instantly. The highest grade a coin can receive is mint state 70, which is nearly impossible for coins of this era. But mint state grades from MS 60 to MS 67 do exist for the 1939 penny, and as you go higher, the price multiplies dramatically. Collectors pay huge premiums for strong luster, clean surfaces, sharp details, and bold wheat stalks on the reverse. Even a small scratch, discoloration, or fingerprint can reduce a coin's grade and its market value. So if you happen to find a well-preserved 1939 penny, especially a mint mark variety from Denver or San Francisco. You may be holding something much more valuable than its face value of 1 cent now. Let's talk about something that truly elevates certain 1939 pennies far above the rest: errors and varieties. Error coins are among the most exciting finds in the world of numismatics because they are accidental masterpieces created during production. They can include off-center strikes, doubled dies, clipped planchets, repunched mint marks, die cracks, and more. Some 1939 pennies are known to have repunched mint mark varieties, especially the Denver Mint. These show small doubling in the mint mark itself because the mint worker had to punch the mark manually during that era, and sometimes the punch was applied more than once. Today, collectors love these varieties because they are unique pieces of U.S. minting history. A dramatically visible repunched mint mark can multiply the value of a 1939 penny more than most people realize. Double die errors are another category that collectors always hunt for. Although 1939 is not the most famous double die year, examples do exist. A true double die will show strong doubling in the lettering, date, or portrait, and these coins can bring serious money at auction. Other minor errors like lamination flaws, die chips, or off-center strikes can also add value. Some collectors specialize in errors and are willing to pay far more than standard price guides suggest for eye-catching and dramatic examples. The next thing that makes the 1939 penny important is its place in American history. This coin was minted at a time when the world was on the brink of war. Just months after these coins were produced, global conflict erupted, changing everything from government spending to metal supply, manufacturing, and even coin production. The wheat penny series itself was nearing its end with the transition into the Lincoln Memorial design coming 2 decades later. The 1939 penny represents a calm before the storm, a last breath of American pre-war coinage. Holding one of these pennies feels like holding a time capsule from a moment in history that soon faded into global conflict and transformation. For collectors and investors, the appeal of the 1939 wheat penny goes beyond nostalgia. It is one of the most affordable entry-level collectible coins, yet it also has rare versions worth hundreds or even thousands depending on grade and condition. It's a coin that both beginners and seasoned experts appreciate. Beginners love it because it is easy to understand and easy to acquire in lower grades. Experts love it because the hunt for high-grade examples or rare errors is thrilling, challenging, and rewarding. So how much is the 1939 wheat penny actually worth today? Well, that depends heavily on the category. A circulated 1939 penny from Philadelphia might be worth just a few cents. But a high-grade mint state San Francisco penny with original red luster can be worth a great deal more. Error coins can push values even higher, and auction records continue to surprise collectors again and again. The coin market changes constantly, driven by demand, rarity, and the excitement of discovery. Throughout the years, collectors have reported some incredibly high prices for premium-grade, visually stunning 1939 wheat pennies. Certain graded examples with exceptional color and unmatched detail have sold for amounts that many new collectors would never expect. And when you consider that these coins were minted more than 80 years ago, the survival of high-grade examples is not only rare, but nearly miraculous. The beauty of coin collecting is that anyone, anywhere, can be holding a treasure without knowing it. Someone could have a 1939 penny tucked away in an old jar, hidden in a drawer, left behind in a family box, or sitting unnoticed in a coin album that hasn't been opened in decades. And if that coin happens to be an exceptional example, it could be worth far more than expected. That is why checking your loose change, searching through old coin rolls, or exploring inherited coin collections can sometimes lead to incredible finds. When evaluating a 1939 penny, the details matter. Look closely at the wheat stalks on the reverse. Are they sharp or worn? Examine Abraham Lincoln's bow tie, beard, and cheekbones. Are they clear or faded? Does the coin have luster, or is it dull? Is the mint mark sharp and well-defined? Any of these details can change the value dramatically. And of course, never clean an old penny. Cleaning damages the surface and destroys collectible value instantly. Collectors want originality, even if the coin shows some age. We are taking a deep dive into one of the most fascinating and collectible coins in American numismatic history. We are talking about the United States of America and 1941 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, a coin that carries over 8 decades of history, mystery, and money-making potential for collectors, investors, and curious treasure hunters who dream of discovering a hidden gem in their pocket change or coin jar. So sit back, relax, and get ready, because this is going to be one of the most detailed and exciting breakdowns you'll ever hear about the 1941 wheat penny, its mint marks, its background, and most importantly, how much these coins can truly be worth in the current market. The year 1941 was a remarkable moment in history. America was standing on the edge of World War II. Industry was shifting, materials were being conserved, and the U.S. Mint was operating at full speed to meet the needs of a rapidly changing nation. During this time, the Lincoln wheat cent was still the primary coin used in everyday life. It was carried in pockets, tossed into cash registers, saved in piggy banks, and circulated from town to town without much thought. Back then, people saw pennies as just pennies. Nobody imagined that some of these very same coins would one day become sought-after treasures valued by collectors around the world. The 1941 Lincoln wheat penny comes in 3 major varieties based on mint marks. You have the 1941 from Philadelphia with no mint mark, the 1941D from the Denver Mint, and the 1941S from the San Francisco Mint. Each version has its own production numbers, rarity levels, and potential value today. Millions upon millions were produced, but not all survived in great condition. Because these coins circulated heavily, finding one in pristine state today is much harder than you might think. Let's begin by talking about the design. On the front of the coin, you see the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design was introduced in 1909 and quickly became an icon of American coinage. It is one of the longest-running designs ever placed on a U.S. coin. Above Lincoln's head sits the motto, "In God We Trust." To the left side is the word liberty, and to the right, the date 1941. Just below the date, depending on the version of the coin, you may or may not see a mint mark. A small D indicates the Denver Mint, an S indicates the San Francisco Mint, and the absence of a mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the classic wheat reverse that gives this coin its nickname, the wheat penny. 2 beautifully detailed wheat stalks curve around the sides, giving the coin its signature agricultural theme, which symbolized American prosperity and unity at the time. In the center, the words 1 cent and United States of America stand bold and strong, with the motto E pluribus unum above. It is a design beloved by collectors because it captures the essence of early 20th century America. Now let's explore what makes the 1941 penny so special in today's collecting world. While the coin is common in lower grades, its value skyrockets in higher grades, especially for examples that have been well preserved since the early 1940s. Collectors love coins from this era because they combine affordability with opportunity. Even beginners can find these coins, but discovering one in mint state condition is a whole different story. What really drives excitement is the potential for extremely high-value coins. Even though 1941 pennies were mass-produced, the number of coins that survived in superb gem condition is tiny. Time, circulation, environmental damage, and general wear slowly reduced the number of pristine survivors. Many people didn't think twice about pennies back then, so they were handled, dropped, scratched, and used for years. Denver and San Francisco mint examples can be slightly rarer in top condition because of the quality of planchets, striking pressure, and storage conditions at the time. But among all 3 mint varieties, any 1941 penny that grades at the highest levels can reach impressive values at auctions. Let's move into grading, because this is one of the biggest factors in determining how much a 1941 penny is worth. Collectors evaluate coins using the Sheldon scale, which ranges from poor 1 all the way to mint state 70. A circulated 1941 penny found in change will usually fall somewhere between good and very fine, meaning it has visible wear and lacks the shine it once had. These coins are fun to collect, but they don't bring huge money. But if you find a 1941 penny with full original luster, sharp details, no major scratches, and minimal marks from handling, it could be a mint state coin. Mint state coins range from MS60 to MS70, and this is where real value begins. An MS65 or higher example is especially desirable because only a tiny fraction of pennies from this year have managed to stay in that condition for over 80 years. Collectors look for strong strike quality, clean fields, crisp details in Lincoln's hair and beard, and a smooth surface free of distracting defects. Luster, eye appeal, and color also matter. A rich red or red-brown tone can dramatically increase value. Coins stored in original rolls or kept in safe, dry environments have a much better chance of surviving with beautiful coloration. Now here's where the story gets exciting. Even though the 1941 penny is considered common in general circulation, certain examples have fetched extraordinary prices at auctions because of their flawless condition. These standout coins are viewed as masterpieces of survival, preserved against the odds. Imagine finding a penny from 1941, a coin that cost almost nothing, but in the right condition and with the right grading, it becomes a desirable collector's item worth many thousands of dollars. Stories like this fuel the passion of collectors everywhere. Many people check their old jars, boxes, and inherited coin collections hoping to uncover one of these exceptional examples. This is part of what keeps the hobby alive. The thrill isn't just in owning a rare coin, but in the possibility of discovering one unexpectedly. And the 1941 wheat penny is a perfect example of this potential. That what's also fascinating is how these coins tell a story about America during wartime. 1941 pennies represent the last full year of traditional copper composition before the changes of 1943, when steel cents were introduced due to copper shortages during the war. That makes the 1941 penny part of a historical transition period. It reflects an America that was preparing for massive change and mobilization. Collectors appreciate this context. It adds depth and meaning that goes beyond numbers and prices. A coin becomes more than metal. It becomes a piece of history, a connection to past generations, and a storyteller in its own way. Many beginners also ask whether they can find valuable 1941 pennies in circulation today. The answer is yes, but the chances are extremely small. Most surviving coins are heavily worn, and good condition examples are usually already in the hands of collectors. But every now and then, a coin surfaces from an old collection, an unused roll, or a forgotten drawer, and surprises everyone. If you want to search for valuable examples, focus on strong detail, vibrant luster, and flawless surfaces. Using a magnifying glass can help you inspect the coin more closely. Look specifically at Lincoln's cheek, jawline, beard, and hair, as these areas show wear easily. Also examine the wheat stalks on the reverse, checking for fullness and sharpness in each grain. Some collectors also enjoy searching for minor errors. While the 1941 penny is not known for major dramatic errors, certain die cracks, repunched mint marks, and doubling on the date or lettering can add extra interest and value. These varieties are especially popular with error collectors. Another important thing for collectors to understand is the difference between red, red-brown, and brown color designations. Copper pennies change color naturally over time due to oxidation. Red coins are the brightest and most valuable. Red-brown coins have a mix of colors, and brown coins are the most common. A 1941 penny with fully original red luster is extremely desirable. Oh, how much are these coins worth today? Circulated examples are generally affordable for anyone, ranging from a few cents to a few dollars depending on condition. But uncirculated examples, especially at higher grades, can climb into the hundreds, thousands, and sometimes even more, depending on their rarity, color, eye appeal, and certified grade. Video, we are unlocking the mysterious world of one of the most fascinating coins from World War II America, a coin that looks ordinary to millions who once held it, but carries a story far more powerful than its tiny copper frame suggests. You're about to discover the extraordinary history, hidden secrets, and true collector value behind the United States of America 1942 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. This small copper coin comes from a time when the entire world was changing, and every single detail of this coin reflects the struggles, the sacrifices, and the evolving decisions of the U.S. Mint during the war years. So settle in, because the journey of this coin is filled with twists, rarity, and a value that will shock you by the end of this video. Let's begin our journey in the early 1940s. America was fully engaged in World War II, a moment that changed every industry, every resource, and every priority of the nation. Copper, which had always been the backbone of the Lincoln cent, was suddenly needed for weapons, communication equipment, technology, and essential war supplies. The government had to decide what was necessary for the battlefield and what could be sacrificed. But 1942 was the final year before major changes took place in the cent's composition. This was the last calm before the storm, the last year before the United States Mint completely changed the recipe of the penny. That makes the 1942 Lincoln Wheat penny a historically significant coin, a piece that stands at the very doorway between tradition and emergency innovation. When a collector holds a 1942 penny today, they're not just holding a coin. They're holding a relic from the final chapter of pre-war copper cents. The design remains the classic beauty we all recognize. On the front is the profile of President Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VB, appears subtly on the shoulder of Lincoln, marking the artistic signature of the designer. The reverse displays the iconic wheat stalks, which represent the prosperity and agricultural backbone of the United States. The words 1 cent and United States of America sit boldly between the two wheat ears, reminding collectors of the nation's resilience during its toughest years. Now, even though 1942 pennies were made by the millions, not all were created equal. The real magic of this coin lies in the details. Tiny variations, minting conditions, errors, and preservation levels can turn an ordinary 1-cent piece into an extraordinary treasure worth far more than anyone expects. And for collectors, the thrill is in discovering which category a particular 1942 penny belongs to. Let's talk about where the 1942 penny was made. There were two major mint marks for that year: Philadelphia, which used no mint mark at all, and Denver, which used a small d. Philadelphia struck the majority of the coins, but Denver pieces have their own charm because they often appear with sharper strikes and different color tones depending on how they were stored. Both versions can carry impressive value under the right conditions, especially when graded exceptionally high. One of the most exciting factors affecting the 1942 penny's worth is its condition. Coins that have been handled, scratched, exposed to moisture, or spent decades in circulation generally lose value. However, coins that were saved, wrapped, preserved, or discovered in old coin albums in nearly perfect condition can be worth astonishing amounts of money. The grading scale, which ranges from poor, 1 on the low end, to mint state, 70 on the high end, determines how much a collector will pay. The jump between a coin graded 64 and one graded 67 can be hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars. A 1942 wheat penny in average worn condition may sell for a small amount. But when you find an example with full original red luster, sharp details, clean surfaces, and solid eye appeal, the price skyrockets. These near-perfect coins represent the smallest survival percentage of the entire mintage. Out of millions minted, only a tiny handful remain in flawless condition, and collectors are willing to pay premium prices for such pieces. Another key reason these coins can be incredibly valuable is the existence of rare mint errors. Error coins from 1942 are limited and deeply sought after. Some of the most exciting errors include doubled dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and coins struck on the wrong metal. These errors were usually accidental results of high-pressure wartime production, rush processes, and human oversight. A doubled die, for example, occurs when the design is accidentally impressed into the die more than once but slightly misaligned. This creates a doubled appearance on the lettering or date and adds thousands of dollars in value. Off-center strikes happen when the coin isn't placed perfectly under the dies, leading to a hilarious but extremely valuable effect where part of the coin is missing from circulation. Collectors dream of finding these mistakes because they represent the unpredictable side of coin production. And when a 1942 penny features both rarity and error, you've struck gold in the coin collecting world. Beyond errors and mint marks, what makes the 1942 penny remarkable is the historical emotion tied to it. Every coin minted that year circulated in a world at war. These pennies passed through the hands of American workers, soldiers buying supplies, families budgeting during rationing, and children collecting scrap metal to support the war effort. These coins were part of American daily life when nothing felt normal. Holding one today is like touching the heartbeat of a nation from the 1940s. That the story of the 1942 penny becomes even more fascinating when we consider what came next. In 1943, copper was completely removed from the cent, replaced with zinc-coated steel. These became known as the infamous steel cents, coins that corroded easily and were often confused with dimes. This sudden shift in material makes the 1942 penny the final chapter of full copper cents before wartime necessity changed everything. This alone gives the 1942 wheat penny a sentimental and historical premium different from any other year. Now let's take a closer look at what collectors today are willing to pay. The market for 1942 wheat pennies has been climbing steadily. As new collectors enter the hobby, high-grade coins become rarer and more expensive. Online auctions, coin shows, estate sales, and private collectors all compete to acquire the best surviving examples. In top grades, these coins are no longer small change. They are assets, investments, and historical artifacts wrapped into one. Imagine finding a 1942 penny that looks like it just left the mint yesterday. No scratches, no spots, no fingerprints, no fading. Just pure, glowing copper with full, original red surfaces. Such a coin can bring enormous value at auctions, surprising even experienced collectors. And when one of these extremely rare pieces shows up, the bidding becomes intense. The world of coin collecting isn't just about metal and numbers. It's about stories, survival, passion, and the thrill of discovery. The 1942 penny represents all of that and more. It symbolizes a turning point in American history, a moment when a nation under pressure had to make tough decisions about resources. This penny reminds us that every small object can carry a big story. Collectors today aren't just buying a coin. They're buying a chapter of American history. They're buying a tangible memory from a year that changed everything. And for many, that emotional connection adds even more value beyond the physical coin itself. If you've ever wondered whether you might have a rare coin sitting unnoticed in a jar, an old drawer, a forgotten box, or your grandfather's collection, the 1942 wheat penny should be on your list to look for. Sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins hold extraordinary value, and discovering one could be one of the most exciting moments in your coin collecting journey. As we close this deep dive into the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny, remember that the true worth of a coin is never just in its metal content. It's in its story, its survival, its rarity, and its connection to a moment in time that shaped the world. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just beginning their journey, the 1942 penny is a treasure worth understanding, appreciating, and searching for. Video will uncover everything worth knowing about this fascinating coin. We'll explore its origin, the wartime era that shaped its composition, the special mint marks that collectors search for, the surprising values it can reach today, and the rarest mistake varieties that transform this simple penny into a true collectible gem. So settle in as we take a journey through American history, craftsmanship, and the astonishing world of rare coins that can be worth far more than face value. The story of the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny begins during World War II, a time when the United States was fully committed to supporting the war effort. Copper, which was normally used to produce pennies, was critically needed for military equipment, including ammunition. To conserve copper, the U.S. Mint temporarily changed the composition of the penny in 1943, producing steel cents coated with zinc. These steel pennies were strikingly different from traditional copper coins, appearing silver in color and even sticking to magnets. But by 1944, complaints from the public piled up. The steel cents rusted easily, were sometimes mistaken for dimes, and jammed vending machines. As a result, the mint returned to using copper in 1944. But there was a twist. Instead of using newly mined copper, the U.S. Mint recycled copper from spent shell casings recovered from military training grounds. These reused materials were melted down and transformed into the 1944 wheat pennies, making them coins literally forged from the remnants of war. The 1944 Lincoln cent looks like other coins of the wheat penny series. The obverse features the classic profile of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, first introduced in 1909 to honor Lincoln's 100th birthday. The reverse displays the iconic wheat stalks on each side, symbolizing prosperity and agriculture, along with the inscriptions United States of America and 1 cent. The phrase E pluribus unum arches across the top. While the design remained familiar, the story behind these coins was anything but ordinary. That alone makes collectors pause with appreciation when holding a 1944 wheat cent in their hands. As for production, the 1944 penny was minted in huge quantities. More than 1.4 billion pieces were struck across 3 U.S. mint facilities. The Philadelphia Mint produced the majority and placed no mint mark on its coins. The Denver Mint added the D mint mark, which is often slightly bolder and more pronounced. The San Francisco Mint used the S mint mark, and collectors appreciate these coins for their relative scarcity compared to the Philadelphia output. Even though billions were made, not all of them survived in high condition. Many spent years in circulation, acquiring scratches, discoloration, and wear. That's where collectors become selective. For a coin to reach top value, it must be preserved in excellent, almost perfect condition. Circulated 1944 wheat pennies are still commonly found across the United States in old jars, inherited collections, and estates. Many people grew up with these coins in their pockets without realizing how valuable they could eventually become. For collectors today, the hunt for a pristine example, especially one with sharp details and minimal blemishes, is what creates excitement. Some high-grade specimens from professional grading services can bring surprising premiums. And when you add the rare varieties and mint errors, the value can rise dramatically. Speaking of errors, this is where the 1944 penny becomes truly legendary. The rarest and most famous error is the 1944 steel cent. Because the mint switched back to copper in 1944, steel coins were not supposed to be produced that year. Yet a few leftover steel planchets from 1943 accidentally made their way into the presses. Only a tiny number exist, making them incredibly rare and extremely valuable. In fact, these are among the most valuable Lincoln cents ever discovered. But even in the regular copper series, the 1944 penny has its share of fascinating die variations and minting mistakes. Collectors look for doubled dies, off-center strikes, lamination errors, and clipped planchets. Each of these adds character and uniqueness to the coin, pushing its desirability and market value even higher. Some of these mistakes are obvious at first glance, while others require magnification and expert examination. Another important aspect affecting the value of a 1944 penny is its luster. Coins that retain their original mint red shine are far more attractive and significantly rarer than brown or darker-toned examples. Copper naturally changes color over time due to oxidation. So finding a 1944 cent that still glows with the same brilliance it had when it left the mint is like discovering a hidden time capsule. Collectors spend years searching for these fiery red gems, and when they appear at auctions, they often attract intense bidding. Now let's talk about the coin's historical context. America in 1944 was deep into World War II. Families were rationing food, rubber, and metal. Factories across the country worked day and night producing military supplies instead of consumer goods. Women filled jobs that had been traditionally held by men, who were away at war. It was a time of sacrifice, resilience, and unity. Coins minted during this period are small physical reminders of the challenges and triumphs of that era. Every 1944 penny carries with it a piece of American history shaped by courage, ingenuity, and determination. That's why wheat pennies from the 1940s hold such emotional and historical value for collectors. They aren't just metal, they're artifacts from a nation fighting for freedom. Owning one is like holding onto a tiny relic from a defining chapter in world history. Some collectors pass these coins down to future generations as keepsakes, teaching younger family members about the past through tangible pieces of history. Beyond history and rarity, the value of a 1944 penny also depends on where the market stands today. Demand for wheat pennies has surged in recent years as more people explore coin collecting through online platforms, coin shows, and social media. New collectors are entering the hobby every day, increasing competition for high-grade pieces and rare varieties. Auction houses frequently feature exceptional 1944 pennies that bring impressive prices, proving that this series remains a favorite among enthusiasts. The Philadelphia issue, having the highest mintage, is generally the least rare but still desirable when found in pristine red condition. The Denver and San Francisco issues offer slightly more collectible appeal, especially in top-grade certified examples. Among all, coins with striking errors are the ones that skyrocket in value. Their rarity makes them stand out, and the story behind each error adds to the excitement. Collectors also pay close attention to die states. Early die states produce sharper details and cleaner strikes, while late die states might show signs of die wear, weakness, or cracks. Coins minted earlier in the die cycle are naturally more valuable. These small technical aspects can influence prices dramatically, especially for serious collectors who appreciate precision. If you ever come across a 1944 penny in amazing condition or discover one with an unusual feature, it's worth getting it professionally evaluated. The world of coin grading can seem complicated, but expert certification helps authenticate coins, verify their condition, and ensure accuracy when determining their value. It also gives collectors confidence when buying or selling coins at higher prices. In today's collecting world, a well-preserved 1944 Lincoln wheat penny can bring an impressive premium. Even though the majority of these coins are common in circulated condition, the top examples are treasured and actively sought after. Combined with its historical significance, this makes the 1944 penny a fascinating coin to discuss, display, or collect. As we wrap up this deep exploration into the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny, it's clear that this coin is more than just a cent from the past. It tells a story of wartime America, resourcefulness, and craftsmanship. It connects generations and sparks curiosity about the people who once used it. And even today, it continues to surprise collectors with its value, especially when found in exceptional condition or as part of a rare minting era. We are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and beloved coins in American numismatic history, a coin that holds a special place in the hearts of collectors, historians, and anyone who has ever dreamed of finding real treasure in their pocket change. We are talking about the United States of America 1945 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, a coin that carries not only monetary value but also the emotional weight of history, patriotism, and the story of a nation standing strong during one of the most challenging times in world history. This is not just a penny. This is a time capsule from the final year of World War II, a year that changed the course of the world forever, and each surviving coin tells a small part of that story. As you listen to this video, imagine the world in 1945. Soldiers returning home, families praying for peace, factories working day and night to support the war effort, and Americans using these exact wheat pennies in everyday life. These small copper coins passed through grocery stores, gas stations, victory bond drives, and military bases across the country. Every single one of them holds memories, fingerprints, and the legacy of an era that shaped modern America. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series began in 1909 as a tribute to the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, and the design became one of the most iconic in United States history. By 1945, the wheat penny had already been produced for over 3 decades, but the coins minted during the war years have always stood out because of their deep historical context. While the 1943 pennies were famously made from steel due to copper shortages, the 1945 pennies returned to a copper alloy composition as the war neared its end. Still, the copper used in 1945 was often recycled from spent shell casings and military surplus, making these pennies even more symbolic. Collectors are drawn to the 1945 wheat penny for several reasons. First, it marks the final full year of World War II and reflects the grit and determination of the American people. Second, it is one of the most widely collected wheat cent dates due to its accessibility, affordability, and beautiful design. Third, the 1945 penny comes in 3 mint varieties: the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark, the Denver Mint with the D mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint with the S mint mark. Each variety has its own value, rarity, and interesting characteristics, and knowing the differences is essential for anyone wanting to understand the true worth of these coins. Let's take a deeper look at each one. The Philadelphia Mint struck the highest number of 1945 pennies, making them more common overall. The Denver Mint also produced a large quantity, but many D-Mint coins suffered from striking weakness or planchet impurities, making sharply struck examples more desirable. The San Francisco Mint produced fewer coins, and collectors often seek S-Mint wheat pennies because they tend to have stronger strikes and better eye appeal. However, because millions of each version were minted, the real value today depends heavily on condition, rarity of errors, and overall preservation. One of the most important factors in determining the value of any 1945 penny is its condition. In lower grades, the coin looks worn, the wheat ears on the reverse flatten out, and Lincoln's coat, hair details, and jawline fade away. These pieces are typically worth only a few cents. But as we move into higher grades, particularly mint state coins with full red color and clean surfaces, the value increases dramatically. Collectors value original red luster the most because copper coins naturally tone and turn brown over time. Finding a 1945 penny that still shines bright red like it looked the day it was minted is increasingly rare, and these coins can command strong premiums in the numismatic market. But value is not determined by condition alone. Some 1945 wheat pennies contain fascinating mint errors that dramatically boost their worth. These errors happen during the minting process and can include doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and repunched mint marks. For example, a doubled die can show doubling in the date, letters, or wheat stalks, and these visually striking features excite collectors and significantly increase demand. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing due to misalignment, can also attract premium prices depending on how far off-center the strike is and whether the date remains visible. Repunched mint marks, especially on Denver and San Francisco coins, occur when the mint mark was struck more than once in slightly different positions, and certain varieties can fetch impressive values. Another interesting aspect of the 1945 wheat penny is its connection to wartime copper. During the early 40s, copper was so essential for producing ammunition that the U.S. Mint experimented with alternative materials, leading to the famous 1943 steel cent. When copper returned in 1944 and 1945, much of it came from reclaimed military sources. That means the penny in your hand today could have been struck from metal repurposed from the battlefield, naval equipment, or military communication lines. This powerful symbolism adds emotional value that goes far beyond a price tag. Collectors often ask, why does the 1945 penny remain so popular despite being widely available? The answer lies in its combination of affordability, historical importance, and collecting appeal. New collectors love starting with the wheat cent series because it is rich in history and relatively easy to complete. Experienced collectors value high-grade examples, rare errors, and vibrant red coins that have survived for nearly 80 years in exceptional condition. And investors appreciate that the demand for wheat pennies continues to grow as younger generations discover their beauty and significance. Even though millions were minted, the survival rate of pristine coins is much lower. Many 1945 pennies circulated heavily during the post-war period, meaning they were used daily for decades before coin collecting became mainstream. As a result, finding a gem quality, fully red example today requires patience, knowledge, and sometimes a bit of luck. That is why the 1945 penny remains a beloved challenge in the numismatic community. Now imagine holding one of these coins in your hand. The smooth copper surface, the bold portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the wheat stalks framing the back, and the date 1945 standing proudly beneath the image of one of America's greatest presidents. You are holding not only a piece of American heritage, but also a relic from a year that ended a global conflict, restored hope, and reshaped the future. Collectors also appreciate the artistic design of the wheat penny. Victor David Brenner, the designer, created a portrait of Lincoln that captures dignity, wisdom, and strength. The reverse features two wheat ears, symbolizing prosperity and growth. The simple yet powerful design lasted for half a century before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. But even today, many argue that the wheat penny remains one of the most beautiful and timeless coin designs ever produced by the United States Mint. As the value of collectible coins rises and more people become interested in history, the 1945 penny gains even more recognition. Social media, coin collecting channels, auctions, and online marketplaces continue to shine a light on rare and high-grade wheat pennies, further fueling interest and competition among buyers. Stories of rare pennies selling for huge amounts attract attention, and although not every coin will bring a small fortune, the excitement of discovering a valuable piece keeps collectors searching. What makes the 1945 penny truly worth money today? It is a combination of condition, rarity of errors, market demand, and historical significance. While a heavily circulated coin may be common, a top-quality example with full red luster or a dramatic mint error can be worth significantly more than expected. And even if a coin doesn't reach a high value, the true treasure lies in the history, the craftsmanship, and the thrill of collecting. For anyone interested in finding or evaluating a 1945 penny, here are some helpful tips. First, always check the mint mark, as D and S mint examples can carry different premiums depending on condition. Second, look closely for errors using magnification. Even a small double die or minor repunched mint mark can add value. Third, protect high-quality coins from oxidation by storing them in safe, airtight holders. And finally, stay informed by following coin guides, auction results, and reputable dealers who can provide accurate assessments. Today's video takes you deep into the world of classic American coinage, a world where history, rarity, craftsmanship, and unexpected fortune come together in the palm of your hand. And the star of our journey today is one of the most talked about coins from the mid-20th century, the United States of America 1946 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. This seemingly ordinary coin, carried in the pockets of millions during the post-war years, has become a treasure to collectors today. Whether you're a coin enthusiast or someone who enjoys discovering hidden valuables that could be resting unnoticed in drawers, jars, or old boxes, you're going to love what we uncover about this humble yet iconic cent. Let's begin by stepping back into the year 1946, a time when America was emerging from the difficulties of World War II. Industries were shifting from war production back to domestic prosperity. Families were rebuilding, soldiers were returning home, and life across the country was changing rapidly. In the midst of that transformation, the United States Mint continued its work producing everyday coins, including the 1946 wheat penny, a coin that now carries both historical weight and collector interest. The 1946 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny holds a special place among the classic series of wheat cents that ran from 1909 to 1958. Designed by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin features Abraham Lincoln, whose portrait has graced the penny for over a century, while the reverse proudly displays the classic wheat stalks that collectors admire so much. These wheat stalks symbolize growth, agriculture, and prosperity, fitting themes for a nation beginning a new chapter after years of hardship. The year 1946 marked a return to using copper for pennies after the famous wartime steel cents of 1943 had come and gone. With copper once again available in surplus, the mint resumed producing pennies with a composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This made the 1946 penny not only visually appealing, but also special in terms of composition. Many collectors appreciate these earlier copper cents because of their rich reddish-brown or deep chocolate tones that develop naturally over decades. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark, struck an enormous number of them. More than 1 billion coins rolled out that year, making them widely used in everyday transactions. Because of this high mintage, finding a circulated 1946 penny today is not too difficult. But what makes the real difference, and what turns an ordinary worn penny into a valuable collectible, is condition, rarity of varieties, and the small number of surviving coins that remain in exceptional shape. That brings us to one of the most exciting parts of this coin story. Even though billions were minted, only a tiny fraction survived in pristine, untouched condition. Most 1946 pennies circulated heavily, clinking around in pockets, passing through hands, being tossed into cash registers, and being spent for candy, newspapers, or soda. None of that helped preserve their beauty. So today, uncirculated 1946 pennies, especially those with sharp details, glossy original surfaces, and rich mint brilliance, can be surprisingly valuable. The difference in value can be dramatic. A heavily used 1946 penny may be worth only a few cents, or even just face value. But a well-preserved example graded by a professional service can multiply in value quickly. Collectors pay close attention to qualities like luster, strike sharpness, and the presence or absence of scratches, wear, or discoloration. Coins that show even the slightest traces of handling lose much of their desirability at high grades. That's what makes the small number of surviving mint-state coins so captivating to treasure hunters today. But condition isn't the only story here. The 1946 wheat penny also has varieties and errors that collectors search for, and some of these rare finds can transform the value of the coin dramatically. Among them, double dies, die cracks, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets stand out as favorites. These minting errors are created accidentally during production, and since the mint never intended them, they become rare by default. A double die showing enlarged or blurred lettering, for example, or an off-center strike that shifts part of the design noticeably can bring significant premiums from dedicated collectors. Some collectors have been known to go through jars of pennies for hours just for the chance to find one of these rare varieties from ordinary circulation. It's part of the thrill, the idea that something rare and valuable could be hidden in plain sight. The 1946 penny continues to inspire this excitement because even with its high mintage, rare gems and unusual errors still surface today. Let's talk more about the artistry of the coin itself. The obverse highlights the continued use of Lincoln's profile, which Brenner created with remarkable realism and dignity. His initials, VDB, appear subtly below Lincoln's shoulder, a signature detail beloved by collectors. The crisp lettering of "I in God We Trust" arcs above Lincoln's portrait, while Liberty positions neatly to the left, completing the iconic familiar layout that every American has seen millions of times. The reverse side of the wheat penny is equally iconic, with its simple but striking design. United States of America is centered boldly, flanked by two wheat stalks that mirror each other. E pluribus unum sits above, completing this timeless look. It's a reminder of an era when coins were designed with both function and elegance in mind, an era when craftsmanship mattered deeply. Now let's explore what collectors are willing to pay for certain high-end examples of the 1946 wheat cent. While most circulated versions won't break the bank, it's the exceptional coins, the ones that survive decades virtually untouched, that catch the attention of serious numismatists. These high-grade coins showcase brilliant mint luster, sharp edges, flawless surfaces, and a beautiful copper glow. They look almost as if they were just struck yesterday. And this is where things get really interesting. Some examples of the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny in top condition have crossed auction blocks for impressive amounts. Even though this coin is common in low grades, the finest specimens are not just collectible. They are genuinely desirable, especially among those building high-quality Lincoln cent collections. Collectors of wheat pennies seek something special, something that stands out. That's why high-grade, perfectly preserved examples command prices that surprise beginners and even some seasoned collectors. The value does not lie in rarity of mintage, but in rarity of survival condition. Each flawless coin becomes a time capsule from 1946, a preserved memory of the American post-war period. When a coin expert examines a 1946 penny under magnification, they evaluate every tiny detail. They inspect Lincoln's hair, coat, cheekbone, and jawline. They examine the wheat stalks on the reverse for clear lines and texture. They look for uninterrupted luster, free of spots or toning. Only the finest pennies meet the standard for premium prices. That's why collectors often submit coins to grading services such as PCGS or NGC, not just for authentication, but to confirm the coin's official quality level. One important thing to understand is that coin values fluctuate depending on demand, condition rarity, and current market trends. Lincoln wheat pennies are always popular, but some years and mintages see increased interest. The 1946 penny remains an affordable entry-level coin for beginners while also offering high-end potential for advanced collectors. This combination makes it one of the most versatile coins in the entire wheat penny series. Imagine someone today searching through an old family collection, discovering a tiny roll of pennies wrapped decades ago. Inside that roll could be a perfectly preserved 1946 wheat penny that no one has touched in 75 years. That possibility alone continues to drive excitement in the hobby. Collectors love the fact that history, luck, and opportunity come together in such moments. Another factor that adds beauty to the wheat cent series is natural toning. Over years and decades, copper reacts with air and develops unique shades, red, brown, or a combination of both. Collectors admire the artistic look of naturally toned pennies, especially those with original mint red color. These coins often carry a premium because original color suggests that the coin was stored well and avoided exposure, handling, and moisture. Oh, where does the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny stand today in terms of real value? While most circulated pennies from this year are common and affordable, certain exceptional examples have reached impressive prices in auctions. And today, we highlight one such standout. A remarkable high-grade example that surprised collectors and enthusiasts alike with its stunning final selling price. Before we reveal that price, think about its journey. A simple, everyday coin minted in a year of recovery, used during the rise of the baby boom, carried through pockets, stores, and wallets. It was a penny that may have bought candy, newspapers, school supplies, or wore bonds at fundraising events. Yet one preserved specimen among millions has become a storytelling piece, a symbol of how even the smallest coin can grow into something extraordinary.